South Carolinians mark Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day today outside the State House with a visit from the nation's second in command. Vice President Kamala Harris headlined the annual King Day at the Dome event, rallying support just weeks ahead of a huge day for South Carolina Democrats. State House reporter Mary Green was there and has more.
Monday's visit here to Columbia marks Kamala Harris's 8th trip to South Carolina as vice president and 2nd so far this year.
It is so good to be back.
This vice presidential trip comes less than 3 weeks before South Carolina's inaugural first in the nation Democratic presidential primary, as both the Biden-Harris campaign and the South Carolina Democratic Party are trying to shore up enthusiasm to get voters to the polls for what's expected to be an easy primary victory for President Joe Biden.
At this moment in history, in the relay race of history, I say then, let us not throw up our hands, because it's time to roll up our sleeves.
Vice President Kamala Harris told the crowd gathered outside the State House Monday afternoon that the ideal of freedom, for which Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. gave his life, is now threatened, including concerning abortion access and LGBTQ rights. After speaking at the King Day at the Dome event, Harris headed to a campaign event in Lower Richland, where she urged voters to get out like they did in South Carolina in 2020, when their efforts boosted President Joe Biden to the Democratic nomination en route to the White House. The vice president told them South Carolina sets the tone by being first in the nation, and she says there's a lot at stake as the country moves toward the November general election.
There is a full-on intentional attack against hard-fought and hard-won freedoms and rights. The kind that so many leaders historically and currently have fought for right here in South Carolina, and certainly that Dr. King did.
Before she headed back to Washington, the vice president made one more stop to speak with the Gamecock women's basketball team ahead of its game against Kentucky Monday night. It was a special moment for head coach Dawn Staley, as Harris commended her team on its accomplishments and told Staley, quote, "Coach, you're killing it." And with less than 3 weeks until South Carolina's Democratic presidential primary, the Biden-Harris campaign is keeping the focus on this first in the nation state. President Joe Biden will be here in Columbia the last weekend in January to speak at a dinner and fundraiser for the South Carolina Democratic Party. Reporting from the State House, I'm Mary Green.